Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming today. If you would like to make any comments or ask any questions, please make sure to put them in the chat with panelists and attendees ticked, or go onto our Q&A feature and you can ask anonymously. Today we have the wonderful Maureen Gillespie with us, who will be talking a bit about her artwork that is in the exhibition today, as well as her practice as a whole. Yeah, so I'll say a little bit about her. Oh no, things have come off of my screen again. It happened the other day. I'm not going to be able to find it again. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure.
There we go.
Yeah, my name is Maureen Gillespie. I'm a visual artist living in Oxfordshire. I started painting again about 12 years ago after having a career in the city. Always been totally passionate about art, and did have the opportunity to go to art school back in, well, the 70s, but I think pressure from family and stuff that, you know, artists never make any money, so go and find a proper career, which I did. But, you know, I used to enter competitions as a child, and I just loved it. And I always doodled and, you know, sketching and doing bits and pieces. So as I say, 12 years ago, I started back, had the opportunity to have time and to really concentrate on what I really want to do. So that's really where I've come from. I was born in Ireland, by the sea, so my roots are really the ocean, which I absolutely adore. And in fact, my maiden name is McNamara, which means man of the sea. And I think that's probably why I'm drawn to the sea. So I mostly concentrate on seascapes and landscapes, and that's either figurative or abstract. And the work I've put through for the exhibition are 3 very interesting abstract paintings that were part of a study I was doing. And I don't know whether, Kirsty, you want to pick up on that or whether you want me to expand on it.
It'd be great to hear a little bit more about the artworks. They are absolutely fantastic, they are.
Thank you very much, Did. Well, they were part of a study, as I said, I did based around my walks in the countryside. I've got 2 dogs, Jack Russell and a terrier who thinks she's a Jack Russell. And I go out every day, rain, shine, snow, it doesn't really matter what it is. And I just had this feeling that I had done a lot of figurative landscapes, which was lovely, you know, trees and flowers and hills and what have you, and lots of atmosphere. But I really wanted to have a look at what it was really like, maybe as an insect looking into the undergrowth and just finding out what the colours were, what the shapes were, what the atmosphere was like. And the 3 paintings I put forward were spring, summer and winter. And whilst obviously there was not a lot of growing going on in the winter, it was fascinating to see where the brambles were, where there was light coming through from the sun, filtering through from the greenery, and looking at some of the shapes and some of the colours that emerge. And I know it sounds bizarre, but I mean, get down on all fours and have really foraged through. And I remember a couple of times people saying, what on earth is she doing? But it was fun. And then I was thinking, how do I put this? How do I translate this onto the canvas? So the way to do that for me was I had a great big sheet of paper and I virtually closed my eyes and dipped some twigs in some ink and started to scroll through, trying to visualize the whole undergrowth essentially. When I finished that, I then stood back and thought, okay, that looks relative to what I've seen. And then I thought, well, I've got to add the color and atmosphere into this. So having previously worked in acrylics, I was sort of more tempted to work with oils and inks as well. So it was a real mix of things, actually. So I worked with oil, very thin based oils and inks, and tried to convey some certain shapes through color in between some of the shapes that I'd created. And then I had this feeling that I wanted to add something a bit more dramatic, and then I added some gold paint, which is great. And the whole idea then sort of emerged, and I had this great big long painting that I was able to divide into the various sections. So hence the 3 studies. And just to give you an example, seeing them online, you can see that really well. So we've got the scratchings coming through the undergrowth here, and the light coming through, and the atmosphere, whether it was you know, a foggy day or a very bright sunny day. The summer one, I think it's the summer one, yes, that was incredibly green, and I had put some gold flecks in here to demonstrate the light coming and bouncing off some of the plants. So that was my idea, and as I say, it was a real study, a real exciting study to do compared to the stuff that I've done before. So that maybe that gives you a bit of a background.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I love the way that you use non-traditional methods such as using a stick. Well, we call it non-traditional, but that would have been how we used to do it back in the day, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, the outcome is just absolutely phenomenal. And when you jumped back into art 12 years ago, how did it feel to take that leap to go into being an artist?
Well, that was really interesting because I decided that that was it. My passion was burning inside me. I got to get out there and do it. So I rented a studio with a number of people in my local town in Whitney. And there were people I'd met from all walks of life who were very bizarre, some of them were very normal people. And we all painted or drew different things. So I started off doing what I had done when I was younger, and that was really pen and ink and charcoal drawings and life drawings. And then I thought, you know what, I want to develop my skill a bit more. So I started to do some abstract paintings, and I used acrylics, and that was great. The colors were so vibrant, it was wonderful. And I thought the only problem I had was they dried so quickly, and I thought, oh my God, I can't really cope with that. And behind me on the wall, you might be able to see, is a painting I did quite some years ago, and it's, you know, very different. It's a dancing girl, because I used to do a lot of Irish dancing when I was younger, and I thought, oh, that would be quite a nice painting to do. But anyway, moving on, I developed a series of abstract paintings, which I was very pleased with. And I had, within the first year, I had a solo exhibition in the local town, which was phenomenal for me. I was absolutely blown away by it. And I sold 4 or 5 paintings then. And then I started developing giclée prints as well, which was great. And I think probably 2 or 3 years after that, having done a couple of tutorials, I went to Norfolk School of Art for a couple of week-long tutorials, because I am self-taught essentially. I started to develop working with oils. First of all, water-soluble oils, but then I said, no, I've got to have the real thing. And as an artist who's untrained, working with oils and not really understand the techniques was quite a challenge, to be honest with you. But I loved it, and I absolutely adore it now. And I look very clean and tidy at the moment because I'm not in my studio, but normally I'm covered with paint. So that was my journey. And then from that, I applied for a retreat in a remote part of Ireland called Ballinskelligs, which is in County Kerry. And there I had to submit a number of paintings. And the idea was, if you were selected, you would then go and live in this house on your own on the edge of a cliff, literally, for 3 weeks. And I was accepted. I was absolutely amazed. I drove my car all the way across to Ireland, turned up at this amazing remote house. There were a couple of other artists down in the village, but that was it really. And my view was the Atlantic Ocean on one side, Skellig Michael, which is a very famous rock, on the other, and sheep for 3 weeks. And it was just absolutely blew my mind. I mean, I absolutely loved it. Nobody interrupted me. You know, I had my music playing. I painted 2 or 3 paintings a day. I sketched everything you possibly could imagine, and it was phenomenal. It was amazing. So yeah, so since then I've come on and I've done lots of exhibitions locally in the Cotswolds, in France, in Ireland, and in Jersey. So yeah, and here I am today.
That's fantastic. That sounds like such a whirlwind of
Yeah, absolutely.
short time.
Yes.
And you bounce a lot between like realism and abstract.
Yes.
What's your favorite and why?
Well, you know, it's a really, really difficult question. I've been, in the last year, I've been pushing this in the back of my mind. What do I really want to achieve? A lot of people really like my abstract stuff. A lot of people love the realism stuff, but I'm finding I want to be drawn more to abstraction, to be able to pull away from that detail, to be able to delve into the sort of stuff I talked about earlier on with these study. And I think I can do that. If I think about Picasso, he started off really in realism and then turned his stuff around to being very abstract. And I think, not that, you know, I'd ever be like a Picasso, oh my God forbid, but I think it would be quite exciting to try to pull apart some of the stuff I've done and say, okay, how can I stretch that and make it into more of an interesting concept for me. So that's my journey plan, I think.
That's fantastic.
That makes sense. Yeah,
it does. Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of your work, you have a lot of sensory in your color and texture.
Yeah.
Why do you want to portray such an atmosphere within it? And what do you want the audience to really feel when they see it?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it's, for instance, if I do a seascape, I want somebody to look at it and think, gosh, I could just walk into that sea and go for a swim. I want them to feel the wind whipping off the ocean. I want them to feel the air coming through. I want them to feel the water under their feet. The same as if they're walking through the woods or bluebells. I want them to be able to smell the bluebells. I want them to be able to see the light filtering through the trees. I want them to be able to put themselves into that picture. A lot of people say to me, oh, I love that. I love that painting you did. Where is it? And I'd often say, well, it can be anywhere you like. If you feel happy in that space, that's all I want. And there will be people, as you know, Kirsty, who will want a painting of a particular place, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But generally, I want people to be able to look at it and feel that they can walk into it. That's my feeling anyway.
I completely agree with that. It's so lovely how you really do get the feel. You even get the feels of the actual seasons into it as well.
Thank you.
And it's so nice how it's so inspired by nature, but in some ways you really have pulled it apart and gone into the abstract route, but you still know what it is.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, for instance, I did through lockdown, I was determined to make sure I use that time productively. So I live very close to very famous Blenheim Palace, which is totally beautiful. And I decided that I would walk a couple of times a week. And each time I did little sketches and photographs. And I ended up doing a series of 6 paintings from the grounds of Blenheim Palace. And I had very privileged to have a call from Brennan Palace to say, could I please do a painting live, starting and finish on video, which was a complete headache to say the least. But I did it, and they put it up on their YouTube, and it was fantastic. So I was really, really amazed with that. And it was great because I did 6 paintings, all very different, but showing various different scenes of the countryside, you know, during the freezing cold winter that we had.
Yeah. That's great, because it sounds like COVID, as terrible as it has been around the world, has somewhat been good and inspiring for you, because you've been able to go out and use it productively and use it to your advantage in a way.
Yes. Yes, definitely have. Yes.
And what's your favourite season to be drawing in with nature? Is it the summer or the spring, or?
That's a really interesting one. I mean, we haven't had wintry scenes for a long time since this year, and it's always interesting to capture the snow, because painting snow, as a lot of artists will know, it's not just white. It can be pink, it can be blue, it can be all sorts of colours.
Yeah.
Spring, however, for me, is the abundance of all this budding green and tulips coming up and daffodils, and it's wow. And then I think bluebells, you know, the carpet of that, was a purpley blue, I would call it, is fascinating. So I think, yeah, spring, I'd say, is a great thing for me. And then the golds and the russet colours and the yellows and the fading greens of autumn are also fascinating. I think all seasons attract me, but those two in particular, I think, yes.
And with art, a lot, and again with COVID, a lot of people's been drawn to it because it's for their mental health. It's been uplifting, and it's just been a lot of fun to get back into for a lot of people. It's given them that thing. What sort of role do you think that art and being an artist brings to society?
Oh, I think it's absolutely crucial. I will give you a little story. Before COVID, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Thank goodness I'm free now. And as we came out of COVID, I got the all clear. But I'm a very positive person, and I do believe that your mental health is crucial to any part of your life. And for me, prior to my cancer and stuff, I used to work with people who had issues, anxiety problems, and sit and do art therapy with them. So I think, from your question, I think that, to me, art, music, writing, anything that's creative, you can allow your mind to wander. It doesn't have to be brilliant, but I think that makes such a significant difference to how you feel in your life. And I'm such a believer in that. It's helped so many people, and it's certainly helped me. So yeah.
I completely agree with that. As someone with really bad anxiety and depression, art is the thing that brings life back to me, and it's something that can be used to share with the world, really.
Yes.
And it just completely uplifts you and makes you feel better.
Well, it does. I mean, I know if I go into my studio in the morning, I've got a burning desire. I think I've got to get in there. I've got to paint this thing I've got in my head. And, you know, I'll put the music on because I love playing music when I'm painting. And I'm just locked in that until I get a buzz on the phone and somebody wants me. I'm thinking, oh my God, how annoying. But it's so fantastic to lose yourself in that. It really is. It's so therapeutic. So yeah, it really is.
So we've got a couple of comments for the Q&A feature. Yes. Absolutely love your artwork. I love the way that you have drawn the atmosphere and the shapes and the abstract to it. And the other one is absolutely fantastic. With when you layer your artworks, how do you go about it?
How do I layer my artwork?
Yeah, I think that's what it means. Yeah, how you layer it.
Okay, well, with the particular series that I did, layering that was interesting because I started off working with pen and ink, with the twigs and with ink, and then I said I used oils, and the oils were, it wasn't impasto, it was very, very fine. So I used a roller and I went over with a variety of different colors. So I put, say for instance, on one of the paintings, I did shades of green and blue, acrylic blue and some other colors. And then I merged those, and I actually used a cloth, a rag, which I twisted to get some sort of texture in it. And then I would roll it again with my hands, because I use my hands a lot when I'm painting. And then for some of the defined colors, for instance, with this one, then I did the splodges of paint. And I didn't use the traditional tools, as I said. I used my fingertips, or I use a sponge. However, with a traditional painting that I might do, fix something that's more realistic, I will use brushes, but I tend to use them very lightly. I use a palette knife, use my fingers for clouds always, because I think that's the best definition I can get. And I'll often smudge through with a cloth or rags or a sponge. So I use lots of different things at hand, and things that you'd find in the kitchen sink, you know, like a kitchen drawer, like a fork and a knife. Yes. So I
That's
hope
great.
that's the question.
I think it has. And how do you go about, do you set out and decide what sort of tools you're going to use for your artwork, or is it in the moment what feels right?
It's a combination. I look at the subject I'm having on board, and then I'll think, with a traditional sort of painting, for instance, I will oil out first of all and then rub back, and then I'll start to do Ebosh sort of drawing, I suppose, in a dark color, and then I'll start to work through. And might use sort of large brushes and small, but then I'll start to use my fingers, and then I'll start with palette knives and sponges. So I'll do a combination. So I normally have a couple of tools laying side by side. And I've got more disciplined as the year's gone on. I've got various palette boards that are a picture in themselves, I'm sure. And I try to put down a defined number of colors. Some paintings will be all similar tones, others will be in multicolors, so I'm trying to be conservative about that. But yeah, that's how I normally start.
That's fantastic. And how do you decide when your painting is done, from the image which is in your head that you want to do?
Oh gosh, that's so difficult. I mean, a number of times I've thought, right, that's it, it's done. And for an example, the one I was asked to do, Blood Blending Palace, which was a start to finish. So I did the painting in a series of 25 slots, video slots, which was me with my iPhone and a little iPod on my desk, on my studio, and odd clips. And when I got to the end of it, I stopped it and I thought, all right, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? And I thought, I'll just tweak a bit more. And then I went out to across the road to the house, came back about an hour later, thought, oh my God, I don't think it's finished. And that's the problem. It's the artist's dilemma. When do you stop? Because you can keep going and then you can make a complete mess of it. So I think I normally go away and leave it for a day or so. But what I also do, Kirsty, is I tend to try and work on 2 or 3 paintings at the same time. I've got 3 in my studio at the moment. I'm working quite small ones, but they're all very different. And it's quite interesting because colors are similar, but it means that I can pull into one and pull out of another. And that's the way I judge it. Hopefully it works.
I think it works fantastically with the artwork that I've seen of yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And for any budding artists and those who want to potentially change careers, what advice do you have for them?
Well, my advice to any artist budding, whatever age, is get out, look and see what's there. I remember having a conversation with some school children. I was invited to give a talk a long time ago, and saying, what color is a tree, for instance, and immediately, oh, it's green. I said, well, and I took them out on the playground. I said, well, actually, it's not green. You've got all these colors here, and let's look at the shape. So if somebody is interested in painting, and not just for a hobby or for a life skill, it's about going and observing what's there. It could be outdoors, it could be indoors, it could be a cup of tea, it could be a cheese sandwich, anything that sort of attracts you, that makes you think, you know what, I want to paint that. And look in detail and see where the shape is, where the tones are, what the colour might be, what comes to mind. Get inspired, sketch, 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 sketch every day. That's what I would say. Yes.
That's such great advice, that is. Because it's one of those things that there's a difference between seeing and looking.
Mm.
And I think that can be one of the biggest defining factors of an artist. We look and we notice.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because my husband, when we're driving anywhere, I'm saying, oh, stop, stop, stop. He said, what? I said, well, look at that cloud. It's amazing. So, oh, for goodness sake, you know, and I'm forever in the car. I've got hundreds of photographs of me in the car, taking photographs of clouds and trees and stuff like that, because I'm fascinated by the shapes. So sorry to interrupt you, but it's fascinating.
I'm like that whenever I'm driving. If we've gone past, have you seen that tree? As we've gone past it, and it's like halfway down the road already.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to ask them. We've got one here. What is your favourite walk that you have been on, which has inspired you to create artwork?
Okay, I think my favourite walk is where I live, across the road. I've got woods called Pinsley Woods. They were created in the Doomsday Book, or they're in the Doomsday Book, and it's a wood that is just crammed full of trees. But what happens in April? The buds, the white tiny flowers come up, and then by end of April, mid-May, the bluebells come out, and the scene is absolutely incredible. It's to see that sea of blue is every single year, it takes my breath away. And I've done several paintings of bluebells in the woods, and every single year I do more, because it's the most incredible scene I've ever seen in my life. Incredible. That,
Wow.
and the only other thing I would say is the sea, of course. Anywhere I'm near a beach and I see the sea rolling in, I've done loads of paintings with the sea. That, to me, every wave has got a different shape, a different colour, a different something about it that is fascinating. I have to grab it. So yeah, they're two things for me.
Wow.
Definitely.
They sound so fantastic to actually go and see.
Thank you.
And what's your most favourite artwork that you've ever created?
The most favourite one, I think, is called Self-Isolation, and I wish I had a photograph of it. Unfortunately, I haven't. It was done in the first lockdown, and it's basically of a sunset, but and grasses in the foreground and one single poppy. And to me, it felt like, you know, it was like, I called it Standalone or Self-Isolation. And as soon as I finished painting it, I thought, wow, that's a really amazing painting. And I put it online and I sold it within 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And since then, people have bought the image several times. I mean, that's one. I've got a couple of others. I've got a really stunning sea painting I did of West Coast of Ireland, and that sold as well. But I could maybe count 4 or 5 in my hand. But I think they're the ones I really, really love. In addition, however, I have got some paintings I did early on, and I don't know whether you knew this, but I developed a series of silk scarves through my original paintings. And these are all the abstract ones that I've done, and I sell those sort of separately. But I've got my original artwork, and I think I've got a photograph somewhere. Again, can't find it, and it's very embarrassing. But that was a lovely painting. It's called just Vibrance. And it's just a bright, vibrant summer garden, but from an abstract construction that I did, and I had the silk scarf made out of it.
I think it's fantastic, the silk scarf collection.
Thank you.
It's such a wonderful idea to have done.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, it's great, and it's gives a lot of interest when I do exhibitions. People are always drawn to it because the silk is beautiful and the colours are very vibrant. And I've made sure that the way it's been printed, it shows the brushwork really well. It's really defined. So you've got a really unique piece there, and some people have bought them to wear them, and some people have bought them to hang on their walls, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I think that's all of the questions for tonight. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. I'm a massive fan of your work.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Well, thank you very much for the questions and giving me the opportunity for this. And seriously, if anyone else wants some more information or wants to see more of my stuff, please, let me know.
Yeah, and please do follow her on her social platforms and check out her website. The artwork is just phenomenal. It really does blow my mind when I look at it.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to everyone who has come tonight. This will be uploaded onto YouTube, and for everyone else to rewatch, share, comment, like, and just spread the love of the art. So once again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being a part of the exhibition. But had such a wonderful, diverse range within it this time. We couldn't really ask for better. It was great. And I will see you soon, and have a good evening.
Okay, thanks very much, Kirsty.
Thank you. I'll see you soon. Stay safe.
Bye.
Oh.